Hi, I'm Emily and I'm the Castle Girl. Today I'm at Castle Tioram. Tioram is pronounced Tioram, which means dry castle, and has a few variations of its name. To the locals, it's known as Doylan Castle. It stands tall on the tidal island called Eilean Tioram, where the River Shiel merges with Loch Moidart in Lochaber west of Acharacal in the Scottish Highlands. Access to the site is along a 2-mile single-track road, which exits from the A861. A small track leads to a car park, and then a short walk across a tidal causeway takes you to the site where the island connects to the mainland. Although the site seems fairly isolated by today's road navigating standards, it would have been highly accessible and connected to other strongholds along the lochs and rivers of Scotland, as people mainly travelled by boat during this era. It was also situated along one of the main trade routes to the Hebridean Islands. Tioram Castle was an enclosure castle and was obviously originally built for defence, as it sits high on a rocky promontory overlooking a sheltered bay and with expansive views over Loch Moidart and the mouth of the River Shiel. It's similar in size and design to Kissamil Castle off the coast of the island of Barra. It has remnants of a pentagonal shaped curtain wall that dates back to the 13th century, which encloses a large courtyard, with the interior towers being built against the south-east and south-west ranges. These towers were added later, during the 15th to 17th centuries. The ruins of Castle Tioram are a scheduled monument, and the only access into the interior of the walls remaining is a vaulted gateway. However, this is closed to the public due to a structural collapse of the northwest curtain wall in 2000. The grounds around the castle have the remains of a stone wall, which would have been built up to enclose lazy beds, which would have been used in later years to grow crops on. There is a small cave-like building on the southwest beach below the castle with a chimney stack, which may have been used as a smokehouse during the 18th and 19th centuries. Who actually built Tioram Castle is not clear, but by the mid-1100s it was the Norse Lord Somerled who was in control of the site of Tioram and most of the lands and islands on the western coast of Scotland. He died in 1164, and the lands were inherited by his son Reginald. They were duly passed to his son Donald. The descendants of Donald were known as the MacDonalds of Clanranald. In the early 14th century, it was Christina MacCreary who granted use of the lands, including the castle, we presume, to Arthur Campbell, as a trade for a galley ship and men to row it when she required. After Christina's passing, it was then inherited by her brother Rory, and it was then passed to his daughter Amy. Local history names Amy MacCreary, who was married to John I, Lord of the Isles, who commissioned the first castle around the mid-14th century. However, archaeological evidence states that the curtain wall and first structures date to the early 1200s. It was Amy, or possibly her descendants, who added a 3-storey tower house around this time, within the earlier constructed enclosure walls. This would have accommodated a cellar, banqueting hall and residential apartments. Amy's son Ranald inherited the castle thereafter. He was confirmed the first chief of Clanranald by King Robert II in 1373. Ranald, also known as Reginald, died at Tioram Castle in 1386 and was buried in the Isle of Iona. The Clanranalds were also known as the MacDonald clan and were a major clan in the Highlands of Scotland. Their relationship with other clans of the Highlands and the royal families of Scotland was more often troublesome with regards to control of the lands over the centuries following. The Clanranalds held possession of Tioram until the early 1900s, despite numerous threats of losing control and several chieftains being slain for rebelling against the monarchy. John Moidart was chief of the Clanranalds in 1554, when the Duke of Argyll launched an attack on Tioram from the sea using warships and an artillery battery on the shore. This was in order to capture the land of Lochaber by request of the Royal Stuarts. Moidart captured the battery on the shore, and there was remains of a cannonball found lodged in the curtain wall in the late 19th century. The Clanranalds, headed by Donald XI, chief, was a royal supporter of James VI after swearing allegiance and being released from prison in 1609. He was granted the lands of Tioram in 1610. The clan still held possession of the castle, although it was under the authority of the Dukes of Argyll. Building work was carried out in 1680 with an additional floor added to the original tower house. Against the curtain wall, a southwest range was added, which included a hall. Regardless of the improvements to Tioram, the 14th Chief Allen decided to move out and live elsewhere in 1685. And in 1692, it was being used as a government garrison against the Jacobite cause. Castle Tioram was reported by 14 government soldiers occupying the castle at the time of the 1715 uprising as being in ruinous condition. Alan of Moidart at this time recaptured the castle and the soldiers and ordered it to be burned in order to prevent it being used as a future garrison for the government. He later died at the Battle of Sheriffmuir. Even though the Clanranalds were among the Jacobite rebels, they managed to maintain ownership of their lands until the early 19th century. Lochshiel Estate was sold to Hope Scott in 1855. It was sold later to Lord Howard of Glossop in 1905. After several more owners, it was sold to James Wiseman MacDonald in 1926, who initiated conservation of the site at this time. More recently, the castle was put on the market in 1996, and after some bidding from the Clanranald Castle Tioram Trust, it was bought by Anta Estates in 1997. Anta Estates wanted to modernise the castle into a private house, which would have led to restriction on public access to the site. The castle was registered as a Scheduled Ancient Monument, and Scottish ministers were advised by Historic Scotland to refuse permission. This has led to a stalemate between conservation bodies who wish for the castle to remain a publicly accessible site of historic beauty reflecting 800 years of Scottish history. The standoff, however, results in the castle being left to the elements to continue to weather it away until an agreement can be made with the owners. In August 2022, there was suggestions by Historic Environment that they were in discussion with the owners to find a solution to this issue. Let's remain positive that a resolution can be made soon as to avoid a great loss for Scotland and its heritage. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to visiting a castle near you. Bye!